from Sydney.
Deborah, Bathurst, and I started this year with my first commercial property.
Hello, I'm Scott, and this is my wife Zana.
Hi.
And we live in the Northern Rivers.
Our first commercial deal started with a block of land that we'd had for quite some time. We used it ourselves, but realistically it was meant to be. So with a little bit of playing around and starting to get creative with what could and couldn't be done, we decided to subdivide it and build some storage units. We put 65 storage units on it. That turned what was a negatively geared property into a property that currently, as it sits, returns us about 21,000 positive after all our expenses, and it's running at around about 50-55% at the moment. So we work on 90% as full, because there will always be the ins and the outs that go on. We'll double that. We'll bring that up to 46,000.
He was able to guide me through what was looking for, what we should be looking at, and he came up with a search for us and brought up a property which we've recently settled on in Wellington, New South Wales. It's 3 shops in one property. 2 of the shops are leased, 1 is recently vacant, but it's already a positive cash flow. And the cash flow is running at the minute about 7% yield with 1 vacant property. With the next property, hopefully that we get that leased out, we're looking at approximately 12% of a yield on this, and we've got a couple of upsides that we can look at with like subdivision of the shop or strata titling the lot, something we'll talk about with James.
Actually had started the James's course last November, that's November 15. And then I started looking for a property just around Sydney. I started speaking to real estate agents, which is really funny. And then I put an offer on a property in Varsity Lakes in Brisbane. That was returning about 9%. But I pulled out of the contract, going through the steps that James had actually outlined in his documents. The lessee, which was a lease back, would not actually sign a director's guarantee, and so I actually pulled out of the contract. I then found a warehouse converted office at Murray in just outside of Brisbane, or actually within Brisbane. It's about 10 kilometres. It's near the wharves, near the Gateway Bridge, so very strategic location, close to transport. A lot of infrastructure in the area. They were looking for a price around 900. So I offered 800, and it was accepted at 800 and returning 8.05 or something like that after all expenses. The tenant pays all the outgoing. So that was my very first one in June of this year.
And I guess our commercial deal is we bought a caravan park in Casino. We needed an income, needed serviceability. We found that quite quickly, quite easily, and we've been there.
March it'll be 2 years. And in that time, so when we bought it we had no home. We were trying to do residential, but residential just didn't cut it for us, so we ended up doing the commercial. And with the commercial we needed a home, so it gave us a home. The caravan park is on 2 titles, and that means that we had a little shop in the front that was quite run down, and it used to be a petrol station at least 2, maybe 3 years before, something like that. And what we ended up doing is we knew nothing about petrol. People were asking us to put the petrol on.
We leased the place.
It's a first 3 years and then 5, so an 18-year commercial lease, which was wonderful. So that meant we actually moved out and we had to buy somewhere close by to be able to train some people to be managers in the caravan park. And what that's given us is serviceability, which we had none of before.
And we still have over half the land left off that block, so that was pretty cool. The other half of that block, that is what we're building our warehouses with, houses on top of them. And that concept for us is about bringing family back together, so mum or dad or both work in the warehouse space down below and live above it. but more so again, it's about affordability. So it brings one mortgage into play instead of two. Technicalities of how it works through council, they can be used separately. It can be office space upstairs and warehouse down the bottom. So again, it's got flexibility. Financially, it will work for us as developers building it. Great opportunity for investors for a good return. So one of them we had considered putting into our super fund. Certainly great for people buying it with a level of mortgage for their business and their family home. So a really good start for anyone in a small business. It's a little country town, so it's working really well for them. It's really exciting. And once we get right into construction with that one, we're looking to cookie cutter that around Melbourne.
The cash flow from this at the moment, the property was for sale at 780,000. Using James' negotiation tactics on how to do things, I was able to reduce the total cost down to 740 after meeting the owners. And with all my legal fees and the accounting fees, the total price came in at just under 780,000, which I was quite happy with. And I was also able to secure an 80% loan with the bank for financing that, which is quite good for commercial property. So 20% deposit. Straight away we're into approximately 14,000 positive cash flow as we stand with just the two shops. And hopefully we get this next shop leased out, which should be soon. Fingers crossed. Will bring us up to approximately 35,000 positive cash per year.
Then my broker said to me, well, you can go again, you know. And I went, really? He says, if you actually have another commercial, your serviceability goes up. So you can actually borrow more.
Yep.
And so I commenced looking in July of this year. And again, I found a property. It was a jewel warehouse at Brendale. Again, about 18 kilometres north of Brisbane. Since then I've been looking at an office or a warehouse, and one came up, brand new property, developer, basically the last property to be sold other than a retail outlet below. It's an office, 201 square metres. They were looking again for about just sub 1 million, and we set it on 905 for that one there. And I actually settle on this one tomorrow afternoon.
Exciting.
So bloody exciting. What it means to me, and this is a great question, is that I have a mortgage on my primary residence after only coming back, to Australia a few years ago. And instead of having the mortgage paid off in 17 years and having to work for another 17 years, I'm actually planning to be able to have it paid off in 2 years and 2 months approximately, and then be able to retire in 4 years' time.
For the lifestyle side of things, we had tried to set the caravan park up so we could be running it hands-free, and that's given us that opportunity. We run our business from home now. We have people that work in the caravan park. Our lease, our mortgage is covered. We've just got it interest only for 5 years. That's covered by the petrol station. So whatever income comes in from the caravan park is extra. That's our And we have a couple of people that we employ, but because it's sort of self-sufficient, we actually don't have that much we need to put in of our own time. So that's freeing us up to be able to get another, because we just want passive income so that we can do our lifestyle of, like James. Scott's going to start surfing again, aren't you?
That's the plan.
Yeah.
That's the plan, get a bit fit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're in the building phase of this. We need to get a few more under our belt before we can completely relax. But yeah, our lifestyle's pretty relaxed already. We're quite happy.
We do have our own industrial block of land that we still operate our truck business out of. And again, we took in another tenant, so we basically gave him the shed that we no longer needed. He took over one of our other businesses, we sold it to him, which nearly doubled our rent, which we revalued and got a nice little chunk of equity out of for not doing a lot, which I liked. I thought that was pretty cool. So again, it brings the concept of how creative can you be, what can you gain out of a commercial property for not a lot of money or for not a lot of work. And it is about being creative, being a little bit different with what you're doing and seeing opportunity. The reality now over the last 12, 18 months, 2 years, the way we look at a block of land or a property now is very, very different to how we used to look at it. There's a lot of opportunity there. You just got to open your eyes, you've got to look differently at things.
The whole idea for us doing this is to get my wife out of work. She's got a very stressful job and high pressure. We've got a 3-year-old child, so the aim is to get her out of work, replace her income within 3 years to be at home with the little one more, to be the mummy, the soccer mum, take her to swimming, be there for the child, which is the only child that we're going to have. So it's also going to springboard us into our next property, which will replace her income hopefully soon. I hadn't even settled on the first property. I'm looking for the second property.
Yeah.
I can't even drive through a town, a bloody suburb, without looking at properties for sale signs and doing the back of the envelope calculation that James taught us. So, in fact, it was so easy to understand that I really questioned what I've done all my life. Because I looked at it and went, it makes sense. It's common sense and it's basic calculations. When I get into the course and I said, how to do back of envelope calculations, I thought, shit, it's a big envelope. But I realised it's made so simple that anyone can understand it. If I can do it, and I'm not a real estate guru by any means, I've only started. It's so simple, it makes it clear. You can look at a property, you can do a quick calculation, and you can realise it's a waste of time going any further, or you can actually go in depth on it and look further. It's very mind-opening.
Yes, my intention is to actually continue with commercial properties. I'm hoping my next one, next year, will actually have some upside to it, and I'm able to actually maybe split it off, sell one side. It'll mean that I'll not have to rely on the government pension. It'll mean that I'll actually have the finance to go yearly trips, buy a new car. It'll mean that I basically will be self-sustaining for the next 30 years, all else being equal. I took the videos everywhere with me when I was on holidays last Christmas. So every spare moment I've been listening to his videos or reading his books in bed over night time. I like the blogs, the monthly blogs that he also has on the deals, and the availability of all the information as well, if I need to, especially lease management.
Awesome. All right, that'll do. Thank you very much.
I mean, the material's easy to follow and easy to understand. James explains it really well. There's the opportunity to call, ask questions on the website. They're answered promptly. I think it's a great tool, and we're going to do the one-on-one process starting in the new year, or some stage next year with James. Really looking forward to that.
One thing I wanted to say is, because I didn't do the studies the way Scott had, because he was doing that, I was studying some other stuff at the time. But listening to the podcasts, those were just a simple way for me to start understanding. And I don't know what it is, but James's explanations are so simple that formulas and things like that just actually made sense to me, and I'm not necessarily, haven't been as focused on that side of things. So that's been really great.
One of the nice things about the podcast, we listen to them when we walk in the morning. So you're not only learning, but I find, and I think Dana finds them really inspirational as well. It sort of sets me up for the day to get into it. It's good.
And also, there's one more thing that's quite exciting. We've got lots of friends and family who we can see need some support to get started, and we're learning the tools. I'm getting goosebumps because it's like Scott's daughter. It's like we're learning tools that can help them start to put them on the right track. It's quite a surprise that the package has given a lot more depth to it, to be able to show other people where they can actually start from, because the market has become so hard for younger generation that I think there was one little podcast of the 400,000 to buy a house or buy a commercial, and that just, both of us were like, wow, it's so much more a way for someone to start that may not be having the ability to buy a property somewhere to live in, and like the old style where you could do that and afford it.
Yeah, because she and her husband live in Sydney, and like most young people, they're finding it difficult to get into a residential market. I'm thinking that using James's program, looking at small commercial deals, is a smart way to give them a kickstart to get into residential. So I'm really excited about that as well.
Definitely lifestyle based. Definitely, that was a few words that I heard James say right in the interim. He was about lifestyle. We went, absolutely, that's what it's about, and it brings that reality back of working smarter, not harder. So going through James's notes, reading through things, a lot of his negotiation styles as well. That was right in the very onset of this, was something that intrigued me, how he did things a little bit differently. I did like that, and that has made a difference in how I approach agents when we're looking for something. Reading through his things has certainly made a big difference on how much time I will and won't spend on a deal, and that can be down to a matter of hours. Might give it a day or two to run a few more numbers and see where we're at. Certainly it has. That's, for me, that made a big deal, because I could sit there and crunch numbers for ages. Now we can rule things out quite quickly. Okay, at the moment our positive cash flow for our storage units were 21,000 a year, which will increase excuse me, in the next 6 odd months. That will keep going up. The warehouses that we're building, they're on pre-sale stage. We have an estimated profit of a minimum of 300,000 out of that, which again, for a negatively geared vacant block of land, I'm pretty happy with that outcome. Our shed and our super fund, it has just brought us in another 24,000 a year, just because it can. Between myself and my husband Phil, wow, we worked ridiculous hours. It was crazy hours that we worked, and at the time it was just what we did. And quite happy to do it, don't get me wrong, neither of us hated what we were doing, but we continually said to each other, oh my God, more time would be good, more time would be good. So that was just what we were looking for. So with those few words from James, if it's all about lifestyle, this is what he does. It's kind of like, wow, that's that time thing, that's what we're looking for. So obviously 2 of our businesses have already gone, mine only just now, and one of Phil's other businesses has already gone. That was 18 months ago. So that's the amount of time that has given us already, is absolutely crazy. We've done a little bit of travelling, and we still work. Like, it's not like we didn't do anything. iPads and laptops are great. You can just do it from a distance. So you're not locked into being in one place. We still have one more business that has another 6 months to run with us. And then it's being pushed aside as well. It's being handed over, so we're looking forward to that little bit extra time as well. So the cash flow out of these, it supports our lifestyle, and it has been steps along the way to make sure that we're not jumping into something and not having the serviceability and cash flow behind us to still maintain the lifestyle that we want. But it's great to have the extra time to do things that we want to do and know that we can still afford to live.
I started investing in residential property over 35 years ago now, but it was hard to continue investing because I quickly maxed out my borrowing capacity. The trouble was, properties were either negatively geared or positively geared in such a small way because of the typical yield of residential property. So cash flow was really tight. But then I discovered commercial property, and it changed everything. I found that the positive cash flow was fantastic, and I was able to replace my income with just 2 or 3 properties, which allowed me to give up my day job and actually retire to Byron Bay over about 15 years ago and live on the passive income. Sitting around doing nothing wasn't for me though, and actually got quite bored. And I love property investing, so I continued to invest in commercial properties just for the fun of it and continued to grow my passive income. I think this is the best way to create positive cash flow, because the way I do it, I can get 100% greater yields than residential property, often even more than that, because the way I do it, I don't have to pay any rates, I can get the tenants to pay all of that, and because the way I do it, I keep the tenants for years at a time. In fact, I've got one tenant I've had for over 22 years, and that's not unusual at all. And here's a really exciting one. If you do it right, the tenants can actually renovate the properties themselves at their expense, and you can benefit and profit from the improvement in that property. This beats residential model by a wide margin. Like I said, generally I get at least 100% greater yields than residential, but usually even more than that. And I don't pay any of the outgoings, so I get even more from each property. Sometimes I shake my head and wonder, why aren't more people doing this? So I decided to step out from my humble abode here in the Byron Bay hinterland, and I'm going to do a training webcast for you to show you what's possible. I'll show you the kinds of deals that I look for and real life case studies that students of mine have done just in the last 18 months. So they're all very fresh. Hopefully this is going to open your eyes to a way of investing that very few people are using that can create life-changing positive cash flow. So to register for this free webcast, submit your name and contact details into the form. You'll be sent your access details and a courtesy reminder so that you don't miss out. So drop in those details now, and I look forward to seeing you on the webcast.